Putskawan Yasar, Anuki Mersotet, Natatet, Sanantat, Atum Rayay.
Putskawan Yasar, Anuki Mersal Emsatakh, Sanan Atum Rayay.
Lo, children of the omniverse, of the multiverses, of the triverses, of the dual verses of this universe, the universal reality, Nuaupu. This is what gives the universe of nature life, form, breath, cells, atoms, and order. It is in fact universal ether, natural ether, unity with the rules and cycles of existence. Universal ether is in the blood inside the bone. The life is in the blood as the marrow in the bone that reproduces new, fresh blood to feed your life body. It takes 6 to 9 weeks to replenish your blood by way of the marrow inside the bone. Women is like the bone marrow that replenish the blood inside the body, who the life is born, and it takes 6 to 9 months. Man is like the blood that is grown inside bone, bone that is grown inside the womb, and that being the body or bone. So they teach biblically that woman is from the rib bone. The Sumerians who gave the Chaldeans their Bible and who gave the Arabs their Quran said Eve or Hawa was called Ava or Titi. From Ava came Eve, Strong's number 2332. And Hawa means life, Strong's number 2416. And Titi is T, rib, and TT is seed. So you see from where the Hebrew Bible says Eve was mother of living, Genesis chapter 3, verse 20. Woman is the bone and man is the blood inside. The Sumerians called her Ti-Amat, consort of Admu, of the blood, Dam, Damam, blood, breath, or life, Adam, lifeblood, earthling, earth seed, blood, red, ruddy. There were many Adams, Edom, all of the same root letters, and means earth beings, ruddy, red, roses, pink blood. No matter whom, they all have physical brains. Like the liver, the brain can create new neural pathways. The process of neurogenesis, the ability of the brain to grow new neurons. Neurons are electrically excitable cells that process and transmits information by electrical and chemical signaling. The brain is constantly undergoing its own stem cell therapy through the process of neurogenesis. Every moment of your life, new neurons are growing from stem cells. Human beings indeed have the ability to grow new brain neurons. All organs cannot regenerate. The brain acts like a holographic computer charged battery with many cells grouped, and your memory is stored in a higher drive called mental. And you retrieve them or thoughts from the mental reservoir to your personal mind, and each thought becomes your own or mine, my own. And like a computer, your link is your etheric code. You can be tapped into and even given a virus called insanity, or as they say, out of your mind. That is receiving thoughts from outside that can make you do things not you. Your brain as a computer also can crash down and you are in a coma state until rebooted. Others try to put their chips into your mind all the time, such as their religious chip or why they think, talk, act, or even look chips. This is called being programmed. The TV, cinema, plays, books, public schools, churches, mosques are all chips in a great matrix trying to erase what you are and remake you who they want you to be or to live in their image and their likeness. By this, they are safe from you and you will contribute to their causes. So they must deaden your own inner programs from birth and insert their own programs in into you, so you will deny that you are African and begin to function as one of them, a mental slave under a spell. They rewrite how you spell out things in your mind, and by such control your life until you're dead and belong to their sources of 6 ether forces. Wu-Nuap breaks the spelling and allows you to rewrite your own programs to heal the virus they infected you with. They use overloads of information on you, force you to study, learn their education and religions based on fear of them. From a child, they teach you the wrong things about life and living, food and eating, playing and challenges, always has you versing others called games all your life. And it comes at you as sounds, music, voice, tone, theirs or approved by them, light, TV, cinema, or each day as you look around, you see them, and over all things from God to Son of God to Mother of God and superheroes, cops, teachers, and judges, always them, their image as lights, images being sent into your brain. Your ears only receive it as sound waves. Your eyes only receive it as light waves. That becomes chemicals in your body. So they and their 6 ether forces are programming your brain from birth with them as your masters. You grow up in their world under a spell of ignorance of what you are as 9 etheric beings who created them weak and wicked and only gave them 6,000 years to become civilized, which they could not do. All they did was use the power to do evil world over. And their time ended 2000 AD, the end of their 6,000 years as rulers, or Malak, which are in fact Milcom, 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 5. For Solomon went after Asorith, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Melech, 1 Chronicles chapter 8, verse 35. And the sons of Micah were Python and Melcha, and Terah and Ahaz, and Leviticus chapter 18, verse 21. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Molech, Amos chapter 5, verse 26. But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Molech, and chewing your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves. Their wicked, evil 6 ether spirit forces, now known as orbs of light, Holy Ghost, cloven tongues like as of fire. These are their 6 ether spirit forces that can enter or depart a person or stay inside. It's done by your willingness to accept their programs, by their holy ring of fire, Wiccan. And you have to be cleaned of them inside out, outside in. So they never taught that you can rebuild your brain or liver or other powers you have as Negroid. They wish you to run into their arms as your doctor dressed in white, a nurse, and he or she will heal you in a place not even called a healing place, but a place to act hospitable. Their first Christian order was the Knights of Hospitalers. They treat you nice as they prescribe medicines that kill you in the long run. So they kill the mind first, then the body, and take your soul to Ein Sof, holy fire, or as they called it in their Kabbalah, the To'ov, Greek, for the emanation of a fluid or invisible fire, the ether, fluid, or brain snaps. They must win your trust in them to take your divine being or soul. You have to offer it to them, and religion is the first step. Fear of their image of God. Faith is fear. Trust. Blind faith is to believe whatever they say is real, even without one shred of proof, as they do each day. So you have to rebuild your body healthy and your brain to build a psychic self-defense as you do to protect your personal computer. They use physiology, the science of the function of living systems. This includes how organisms, organ systems, organs, cells, and biomolecules carry out the chemical or physical functions that exist in living system. They use physiology on you. Liars of lies to physic. Physic meaning any medicine, a drug or medicament, the verb meaning to dose with medicine. So they physic you, trick you into trusting them as a child. They are physician, better physics of the physical world, and use physic to build your physique of what they want you to be, so they can cause you to kill yourself in so many ways, then take your soul to feed their overlords. So now with the 6,000 years ended, you see them world over weaken. You see nature working on them by weather, their wealth, power, health, all fading since the year 2000 AD. The Caucasians world over are falling, and those races that trust them will come down with them between 2000 AD and 2013 AD. You will see nature at work. Yet you Negroids, Africans world over must rebuild your brain powers, reprogram your own mind from our own mental reservoir, your own oversouls. It started with knowing the facts about what and who you are and what you can or are capable of doing. Just as you are able to keloid, your skin, unlike others, will extend itself. There are many things unique about the African race, so it is with your brain regrowth. Your brain is not limited to the neurons it is born with or even the neurons that fill it after explosion of brain development in childhood. New neurons are born well into the 9th decade of life. Within your brain, there exists a population of neural stem cells that are continually replenished and differentiate into brain neurons, the powers of transformation. It's a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which plays a key role in creating new neurons, also protects existing neurons, which encourages synapse formation, that is connecting one neuron to another, that is needed for thinking, learning. This is done in your DNA. That is in every cell. Why they attack DNA? With their sex forces of lust first, and far most to weaken the blood flow to the brain. Like spirit vampires, they seek to drain your body fluids for this reason. So Nuwapu, this is how to harness your brain neuroplasticity, which is the ability of the brain to change structurally and functionally, to enhance neural pathways. And what gives this universe of nature, life, force, form, growth? Natural ethers in unity with the rules and cycles of nature, our own 9-ether nature as Negroids. Natural ether is the energy that gives lights and life, soul and movement to this universe and the beings, person, and things herein. As brain synapses magnetically and magically come together and unite to process into ether, a neurogenesis, growing brain cells, creating new neural pathways, and the ether mind and reason start creating, growing, and developing the physical body of the organism that the brain needs to have for survival and support. After the organism is created and born after 6 or 9 months, the brain continues to generate ether blood by way of its heart and lungs, kept clean by the liver and kidneys. Brain produces ether, which is the kind of life called mind, feeding off of the mental for reasoning. Natural ether is of the soul, in our case, and the spirit and Caucasoids. We don't have the same life system. We even breathe opposites. When we breathe in, they're breathing out. Our bodies do not work the same in digesting foods or liquids. So by nature, we are grown on different parts of the planet where different things grow to eat.
You, if outside of Africa or sun-drenched lands, are eating things not prepared by nature for your body. This is why you are always sick, diseased. You are living by what their blood needs, not your own. This action of intake affects your blood and brain output. Yes, they know this fact. and they feed you blood meat, which they as Homo canines need. This action of intake affects your blood and brain output. Yes, they know this fact, and feed you blood meat, which they need as Homo canines. By the rules and cycles of our nature, natural ether performs spontaneously, and you as gods were to be healthy. You have a responsibility to respawn. S-P-A-W-N. To respawn the ability to grow spontaneously and indeed efficacious with desired result, or spawn and indeed efficiently, acting directly to produce an effect. You refused, and for that has been under them for 6,000 years, lost of what you really are, supreme beings. In a state of hypnotic amnesia, for mixing your blood seed with the foreign extraterrestrial's offspring, and have been under this spell for 6,000 years, it's now time to regrow, spawn again, in order to return to Sahat, Wu-Sabat, and not become food for their gods. This means natural ether works automatically and is able to do what must be done and can do it with perfection. So you, responsible to respawn new life unadulterated. Helper ether. The sun's rays, sunshine, is the physical life and light of the physical world. And head ether is reason and the mental and spiritual light and life of the physical world. You Negroids by nature, as grown on the best and richest part of this planet, Africa, the sun-drenched part, for you to become helper ether and head ether. For all others, you are the gods of the planet Earth, Etherians. Children of the sun, Rayay. The sun, as a circle or disk, is the circle of natural ether. However, natural ether is all ether produced by natural processes from 1 ether to 9 ether. And universal ether is all ether produced by universal orbs, spirit, lights of fire. And these are the sparks of brain synapses, or sharar, spark. This is likewise by natural process of spawning. Natural ether is universal ether, meaning it exists everywhere, either in potential or active form. This is potential or spirit and active or physical body. It is the blood and the mind of the universal energy that pervades, meaning to be present and apparent throughout all. Natural ether is the physical light and life, the spark of life, electrobiochemistry, biology. Repetition is memory. Retrieve both genetically and mentally what you are, not who you became after birth. It's all in your brain and can be seen and noted. The human brain, with all its problem-solving powers and creative ability, is powerful enough to overstand and understand itself. Nothing in the known multiverses, with the exception of the omniverse, itself is more complex. The brain contains 999 billion nerve cells, or neurons, each of whom can communicate with thousands of other brain cells. Because humanoids are primarily visual creatures, the best way to make sense of the brain is to see it clearly. Using a stain that marked individual neurons. By peering through a microscope at the stained cells and the branch-like projections with which them connected to other neurons, it becomes clear everything was simple and unconfused. Neuroscience now know and see these facts. For determining the specific tasks in which the different brain regions specialize, for example, some neurons devoted to processing sight detect only horizontal lines, while others sense danger or produce speech. Under the right conditions, patterns emerge from the brain's monumental complexity. One is an application of magnetic resonance imaging, diffusion tensor, or the MRI. Tracks the flow of water within cells, revealing neural tracks that make long-distance connections within the brain. They can be seen and separated by colors. The form that a neuron takes is determined by its function, as is the way a group of neurons neurons is organized into bright oblong clusters sensitive to touch. Each process neural signals from different points of touch. Maps delineating how brain regions not adjacent to one another are connected by long tracts of cellular projections called axons, A-X-O-N-S. By using genes from fluorescent jellyfish and inserting into the DNA of worms or mice, makes it clear to see illuminated, sensitive light shining on neurons containing the gene and can change their behavior. This allows for manipulation of the activities of individual cells and cell types by using beams of light. This is being used to imprison your cells, your DNA, your gene, and making you think you are thinking what you think. Instead, it's programming you. This has been used on you by wicked extraterrestrials and now passed on to their offspring demigods to tap into your brain and control and manipulate how you think that you are thinking, or putting you out of your own mind. Cut off from your own mental, linked into theirs, to live in the image of the beast, lust and luster, food, fun, music, all by neuroscience of you. Wake up. Break this link to them. Leviathan's spell of Kingu, Cain, Canaan, Africanus, Negroid. You need the sun's pure rays of illumination to enter through the small holes in your eyes, attracted by the dark pupil, encircled by the bright iris pigmented membrane. Iris is from Greek and means rainbow. Pupil is from Latin and means award, student. The rainbow for the colors of the prism, the speed of light, and each emotion and expression as a wavelength as it enters the hole in the eye orb. And why? Because, Nwapu, since you first opened your eyes, you, long before man-made illumination or lights, was born in darkness, then taken into the sun's light on the 9th day. And the very first light to enter your physical body was outdoors, natural sun's rays. You lived and worked as well as played outdoors. During the daylight hours, from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. was the hot of the day called Yawan. Hot of the daylight, and the full day from dawn to dusk was called Zaman, and bright of, they say, called Nahar. Your eyes absorbing the sun's rays of light and energy, an average of 9 hours outdoors each day, and an average of 90 hours each week was common back then, before the advent of electric or gas lights. Light, which is radiant energy acting on the retina of the eye to make you see. The retina, Latin, rete, a net, the innermost coat lining the eye orb, containing light-sensitive cells that are directly connected to the brain. Now, most people have moved indoors and are cut off from the sun's natural rays of illumination or radiant energy. The darker the eye's iris, the more sun's rays are drawn into the body, the more energy is received. The lighter the eye's iris, the less sun rays are drawn into the body, the less energy is received. As light colors and white repels the sun's rays, while dark colors and black attracts the sun's rays. That's a fact. So people have moved indoors away from the natural rays of sunlight and energy, and seek to keep you from that divine energy or places that is sun-drenched, like Africa. As long as you live with cavemen on parts of the planet with less sun rays, you will always be weakened mentally and physically as children of the sun, and remove your ability to regulate your circadian rhythms and energize your brain cells and body. African, black people, you were grown to attract light and sound. Your very nappy, kinky hair are antennas to receive the voices from your ancestors and to receive electromagnetic waves. This has been untuned. You are on another station, not hearing your own ancestors and relatives speaking to you from the multiverses or the spirit realm. You burn and transform your hair texture. You bleached it. You cut it. You damaged your natural antennas, your kingly hair. You put in light contacts to deflect the sun's rays of light. You paint your skin, your rich dark skin, with drawn sun rays into your open pores. You are taken inside at school. You are taken inside a school as a child, spending from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. indoors. Or you work indoors all day. This is planned by the wicked to weaken you so that they can overpower you at night and day. They say you must pay taxes, so you have to get a job inside or working under them just to keep you away from the energy of Rayay, the sun. Now, do you see why they say we worship the sun? They did not understand our relationship to its rays and how we so faithfully regulated our circadian rhythms and received our energies from our brain and cells. How would you know what circadian is? Latin, circa, the behavioral or physiological rhythms associated with the 24-hour cycle of the planet Earth's rotation, linked to your 24,000-year cycles and the Earth's circumference, 24,986 miles. It's all linked to the equinox, to keep records of when to renew your story every 24,000 years, to your body's organs, glands, cells. It's a fact that your circadian rhythms are dependent upon the sun's rays entering your eyes to regulate your body's master clock, zero time reference. According to the quality and quantity of the true light and natural colors received, key hormones and neurotransmitters like serotonin and melatonin are released in the brain to set your daily rhythms. These days, most people of our black race of Africa's people suffer from malillumination, a lack of the sun's rays daily. This is natural sunlight and too much indoor artificial lights, especially at shadow hours or night. The reason you experience so many symptoms of being out of rhythm, headaches, depression, fatigue, weight gain, pains, hormonal imbalances, sleep disorders, PMS, lowered immune responses, vitamin deficiencies, and lack of vitality, just to record a few. So many health problems are associated with the lack of full spectrum natural light, which includes ultraviolet light. Ultraviolet light is necessary for your health. Your retinal pigment epithelial cells will not develop or divide, unless they are exposed to low levels of ultraviolet light. This all does not mean go out and stare at the direct sunlight. That is why you have lids. So you must be in tune with your body to produce healthy brain cells. You must rebuild you, inside out, outside in. You have the inner powers as Africans, nature's chosen race, given the gifts to build and rebuild. After 6,000 years of suffering, it's now our time.
We're going to move ahead to the update. Now, what happens when a person is not vibrating a certain way and they are concerned that a being may come and impersonate their family and try to get the person to open up to them? Again, it is about being on the right tone and vibration of your ancestors, and that is who you will attract. So get your family members on the same frequency, like your mother. In order to make your connection, you do not have to just worry about you being okay and vibrating on a frequency. Suppose your grandmother is waiting for you. She links through your mother, and your mother is off the station because of a rape. So another's DNA has mixed and may cause interference. Sometimes things happen. If you are worried that you had a bad relationship with a relative and they have passed on, and you are worried because you did not apologize or make amends, you do not have to worry. The good thing is that your ancestors on the other side are over the emotional part of life that so many are still sifting through. We have too much baggage that interferes in our lives here. Everything that exists has an origin. Things, people, beings, planets, suns, gases, etc. all have origins of being created. When things that cannot be explained in periods over time. They always want to take that unexplained period of time and put in religion. That is when you shake the faith and start thinking again. They have removed thoughts. Now that is a strange thing to say. You may say, how? Well, before, when you wanted to know something, you had to get up and look in a book, really research. Now we have the internet, the World Wide Web. If you want to know something, just look it up on the internet. If you are not thinking, you are not creating. The gadgets that everyone has in the palm of their hands are dumbing you humans down. Look at the telephone. Before cell phones, you had to look the person up in the phone book or create your own phone book of numbers. So you still had to look them up unless you memorized the numbers. Now the numbers are stored in your cell phone, and all you have to do is just scroll for the person's name. You don't even have to look at the number. You don't even have to dial the number. If you went back in time, let's say the 1600s, look at all the things you would lose. Your microwave, your phone, your TV. Yet you would be thinking more. And guess who is growing smarter? Animals. The animal's intelligence is raising to your level as you are reducing in levels. They are increasing levels, and as you have seen recently in the news, there are talking whales, Korean speaking elephants. They will tell us what they think of us soon. Just because they do not have our vocal cords does not mean there is not intelligence or that they are not capable of communication. The reason certain Americans are becoming very concerned about the money is they realize they will not really know how to do anything besides tell others what to do. By that I mean they have no skills, and if it comes down to the loss of technology, could you survive? What do you know how to make or create with your bare hands? They really do not know how to do anything, meaning they cannot create anything with their hands. Again, that's to technology. Well, many people have stopped thinking, but they cannot stop manual labor. With new technologies, there are many white-collar jobs being eliminated. Look at the failing beef industry, which is big in Georgia. So what is happening? The price of milk will rise. No one is buying beef from the States because of the mad cow disease. Another reason Georgia is bankrupt. The bread you see in the stores is now recycled paper, wood. Yes, paper dough. Paper dough with added yeast to make it taste like bread. Any group of people that are in tune with their own frequencies have been able to overcome the devil. When Nelson Mandela was incarcerated, many entertainers became involved with the singers of South Africa, and the singers of South Africa became known. Example, Lady Smith Black Mombaza. Do you remember the tones of their voices when they sang? Next thing you know, Nelson Mandela was free. Look at the Aboriginals. They have this instrument called the jor. That when the entertainer Yanni was touring with the Love Is All tour, he had many performers from around the world and had the Aborigine native instrument. Now, what is going on with the indigenous tribes of Australia? They are getting their lands back. What about India? They have their own music, own cinema, own culture, and what? Their own music. And now look at India increasing in wealth. They are on their own frequency. Look at the Chinese. They have their own as well and are doing well. They are in tune with their ancestors.
Let's look at this word, racist. Now, if one likes and studies and plays the flute, then that would make them a flutist. If one liked and studies science, then that would make them a scientist. If one studies and examines the behaviors of the mind, then you would call that person a psychiatrist. Now, I study and teach on the 3 races and many sub-races. And what do they call me? There is a lot of talk about zombies in movies. Now there must be a question on how it will happen. Well, again, it is about sounds. There will be a certain tone that will be played that will affect different people different ways. For example, in the movie called The Time Machine, the old version, there was this sound that caused the people who had certain traits to come inside a cave. Took them to these creatures who did not come into the light of day. As it says in Malachi, they will be led like lambs to the slaughter. Isaiah 53:7. They were on their frequency, so they were programmed to listen and were under their control. They went into a zombie-like state and went to these caves willingly by the sounding of this tone, down in the earth to be eaten by these beings called Elul. Also the name of a month on the Jewish calendar. Also a derivative of the name Enlil. In the Bible, in Quran, chapter 20, verse 102, it speaks about the angel Raphael sounding a trumpet to gather the guilty again of a certain eye color. In the Jewish religion, you have an animal horn that is blown, called a shofar, that will be blown on Yom Kippur, which is translated as the Yom Day of Kippur Atonement for sins. However, Kippur or Kafir means covering. In the Bible, Leviticus 16:5 through 22, it speaks about a goat called Azazel, who took on the sins of the people and then was led into the wilderness away from the people after taking on their sins. Azazel is another name for the devil that they translate as scapegoat. We are living in the seventh thunder. When this trumpet or sound is played, there is a breed of hybrid beings that will also be activated. They have silver gray eyes and are bald-headed. They will be activated and turned into these carnivorous creatures who eat human flesh. They have been suppressed by the availability of restaurants that serve blood meat. Once this tone is sounded, they will transform, or their true nature will be released and they will eat, and humans are on the menu. When the sons of God's Nephilim came down and saw that the daughters of Adam looked fair, how did they know that the Adamite daughters were there? Because Cain, the jealous one who was cast out to the land of Nod, he told the Nephilim there about all his sisters. Then these beings, these Adamites and their offspring, became wicked. So it repented him in Genesis 6:5. God said, wipe them out, yet not Enki's people. You can't drown a reptilian. Thus in the flood, the life in the sea was spared, and they told his people to go behind the waterfalls. Enki was called Ea, meaning abode of water. When he came out of the waterfall, he was called Dagon, because Enki, Yahweh, was a shapeshifter. Alelu was also in the Bible, found as Belial, and can be found under Strong's number 1104, as an eater of flesh. And it was him that showed the Mayans of South and Central America about blood sacrifices. It was his daughter that Enki or Ea married. They were mermaids. That's what all the confusion over these beached whales found on the beaches. That's why all the confusion over these beached whales found on the beaches. They are fighting below the surface of the waters. They are afraid of Dagon rising out of the seas again. Once again, we want to thank Partner YAANANAN